For our group assignment question, we're gonna discuss the steps necessary to implement a cost-benefit analysis of a government problem. Describe the Gini coefficient and discuss how these coefficients can be used to determine the impact of taxes on income distribution problem. This is our group member, Muhammad Izwan bin Abdul Jalil, Muhammad Ainul Yakin bin Zulkifli, Muhammad Amirul Hafiz bin Ahmad, Nur Aisyah Umira Muhammad Zaki, and Muhammad Afiq Azhari bin Muhammad Jeffrey. Government problem is being separated by four. The first one is declining GDP. The second one is high rate unemployment. The third is weak productivity, and the last one will be collapse of tourism. Declining in GDP. Gross domestic product shrank 3.4% in the fourth quarter from a year earlier, its third straight contraction and a deeper decline than the negative 3.1% figure analyzed. The economy contracted 5.6% for all of 2020, its worst performance since 1998 and below the government's projection of negative 3.5% to negative 5.5%. High rate of unemployment. With an increase in the number of daily COVID-19 infection cases in May 2021, Malaysia's public health crisis situation became more challenging, resulting in the implementation of a total lockdown nationwide from June 1 to 14, with the closure of all economic and social sectors except essential economies and service sector. Thus, unemployment rates in Malaysia for April 2021 has dropped to 4.6%. Weak productivity growth. Graduates with poor skills and low employability are the result of the educational system failure. Today's demographic benefit will become tomorrow's demographic burden if today's youth does not acquire a solid education. Over-reliance on low-cost foreign labour which not only keep wages low but also keep the economy stagnant and reduce the motivation to invest in higher value-added sector. The collapse of the tourism industry. Most travel agencies in Malaysia has been forced to suspend and find new ways to sustain its business after a ban on leisure travel has been instituted by the Malaysian government due to the pandemic. The tourism industry suffered an estimated loss in revenue of more than 100 billion ringgit last year. Effect of the problem. The first one is affect the mental health of society, which means a wide gap in the income disparity among people could negatively affect society's well-being and economic development. The second one is the rate of crime increase. The society which put pressure on individuals to attain social accepted goals, though they lack the means, will lead to strain that could drive the individuals to commit crimes. Thereby, crime is a social cause of inequality. The last one is inequality of human development. According to the Ghazanah Research Institute, the State of Household 2018 report, it is evidence that not all households in Malaysia are experiencing the same development in education, health, and access to basic amenities that the national average suggests. Step cost-benefit analysis. They have 8 steps necessary to implement a cost-benefit analysis of a government problem. The first one is problem analysis. This analysis investigates what problem or opportunity presents itself, how it develops, and whether government intervention is legitimate. The second one is determine the baseline alternative. This describes the most likely development without a new policy. The situation in which a measure or project is executed, which is project or policy alternative is compared with the situation in which the project will not be executed. In this step, the government problems such as high rate of unemployment will be measured and compared whether the baseline alternative will be executed or not. The third one is definition of policy alternative. This description of the relevant project or measure that are considered likely to solve the problem. Furthermore, several alternatives or variations are often formulated for each measure or project. For government problem in high rate of unemployment, this policy alternative can be used as one of the ways to solve the problem. We use several alternatives in the problem. The fourth is determining effect and benefits. In this step, the effects are identify, quantify, and preferable monetize. For example, they have several effects have been identified, quantified, and monetized for solving the government problem in high rate of unemployment, such as government need to spend huge budgets on opening more industrial sector, so that many Malaysians can get work, and the benefits are the unemployment rate will decrease. The fifth, determining cost. The means needed to affect and maintain a measure relative to the baseline alternative for solving the government problem in high rate of unemployment. The sixth is analyze variance and risk. Identify uncertainty and risk and analyzing the consequence for the outcome of the government problem. So in this step, the high rate of unemployment for their risks are identified and the consequence of the problem also need to be analyzed. The seventh is drawing up an overview of costs and benefits. Next, in this step, all costs and benefits are calculated according to the same base year and the balance is determining for solving the high rate of unemployment. And the last one is presenting the result. Interpret the result so that it becomes clear what the decision maker can do in government problem. What is Gini Coefficient? The Gini Coefficient, or other name Gini Index or Gini Ratio, is a statistical measure of economic inequality in the population. The coefficient measures the dispersion of income or distribution of wealth among the members of the populations. A coefficient of 0 indicates a perfect equal distribution of income or wealth within the population. A coefficient of 1 represents a perfect inequality when one person in the population receives all the incomes while other people earn nothing. In addition, in some rare cases, the coefficients can exceed 100%. This may theoretically occur when the income or wealth of the population is negative. However, the above-mentioned scenarios are extremely rare in the real world. The data shows that the coefficients generally range from 24% to 63%. Please note that the Gini coefficient is not an absolute measure of a country's income or wealth, but the coefficient only measures the dispersion of income or wealth within the populations. Principle of Gini coefficients. The first one is scale of independence. The calculation of Gini coefficient does not depend on how large the economy is, how it's measured, or how wealthy a country is. For example, both rich and poor countries may show the same coefficient due to the similar income distribution. The second one is anonymity. The coefficient does not disclose the identities of high income and low income individuals in the populations. All permutation of personal level within a given distribution should not affect overall inequality. The third one is the population independence. Inequality measures should be independent of the size of the economy. That is, if an economy is cloned, then the extent of inequality in the combined economy will stay the same as in the original one. In that way, it is possible to compare small and big countries irrespectively of their population size or their aggregate incomes. And the last one is transfer principle. The coefficient reflects situation when income is transferred from a rich to a poor individual. Inequality is reduced when a fixed amount is transferred from a richer individual to a poorer individual. The problem with Gini coefficient in Malaysia. There are 4 problems with Gini coefficient in Malaysia. The first one is hamper poverty reduction. Inequality could result in poor public policy choice. It can lead to a backlash against growth-enhancing economy liberalization and fuel protectionist pressure against globalization and market-oriented reforms. For example, during 1970, there was 49.3% of poverty in Malaysia and reduced to 0.6% in 2014. In 2014, the Gini income coefficient of income inequality was 0.41%. This shows that high level of poverty still exists in Malaysia and there is uneven income distribution. The second one is inequality can lead to policies that hurt economic growth. Income inequality affects the pace at which growth enables poverty reduction. Growth is less efficient in lowering poverty in countries with high initial level of inequality or in which the distributional pattern of growth favor the non-poor. The third one is inequality income by state. Existing imbalance intra-ethnic income distribution and urban poverty. According to Economic Planning Unit 2015, poverty and income inequality still exist with the highest level in few states, mainly in Sabah and Federal Territory in Labuan, which is 3.9%. Kelantan is 0.9% and Sarawak is 0.9% in 2014. And the last one is inequality does not measure the quality of life. The population living in rural areas is likely to have a lower income than those who live in cities. However, they may not feel inadequate. They can take some food from nature without having to spend money. Also, the coefficient ignores the roles of government welfare programs such as subsidized housing, healthcare, and education in supporting citizen living standards. The Gini impact on taxes on income distribution. The Gini coefficient is one way to measure how evenly the income or wealth is distributed throughout a country. A very common and convenient way to measure income inequality is a ratio called Gini coefficient. With a scale of 0 to 1, a Gini coefficient of 0 means everyone in the society has the same wealth. A Gini coefficient of 1 means one person has everything and no one else has anything. Taxes and taxation system in one economy can contribute to increasing or decreasing the income inequality and distribution of the income in general. For example, a progressive tax system can mean that the higher earning income workforce will be paying more, paying a higher percentage of their income in tax. On the other hand, people realize small income will pay smaller percentage from their share of realized income. This type of personal tax can significantly impact the income inequality in the economy. By decreasing it, although it cannot always be the case. The Gini coefficient is calculated as follows. We find out the income of all people in a country and then express this information as a cumulative percentage of people against the cumulative share of income earned. This gives us a Lorentz curve which is typically looks something like the following. In plain English, the graph above indicates the proportion of the income going to the poorest people, middle income people, and richest people. There will always be rich and poor, but we are interested in how evenly wealth is distributed, and most governments put effort into keeping this coefficient as low as possible. For example, say we have 10 people in the village and the income of the village is 100 per day. If every person shares this income evenly, they get 10 ringgit each per day. The income distribution will be as follows. Cumulative just means add up the numbers you have so far for each step. Now people being people, some of the villagers decide they should be paid more because they work harder, or because they are older, or because they have more children, or whatever. So three of them, person H, I, and J, decide to keep 15% of the income each and distribute the rest evenly among the others. However, that does not work out evenly. So they decide the laziest 3 people in the village, person A, B, and C, should get only 5% of the income. Our table now look like this. So from this, we can see that by using Gini coefficient, we can calculate how the income distribution of a country and see whether it close to 0, which means the income distribution is perfect, or close to 1, where there is inequality in income distribution. Between 1970 and 2014, the Gini coefficient for Malaysia has dropped considerable from 0.51 in 1970 to 0.401 in 2014. This means that over the last 40 years, the income inequality in Malaysia has reduced, and the total income is more evenly spread throughout the population. We can therefore conclude that income gap in Malaysia is getting smaller. The conclusion is, income inequality is a threat to a modern economic system, whether for the countries in development or already developed countries. Most popular measurement unity that represent the income inequality and income segregation of the countries is the Gini Index. According to the Gini Index, values and the comparative analysis show that the country we can conclude by the using Gini we can foresee whether or not the country is in the right tracks, and the government can also ensure to use different methods on how their tax on income are evenly distributed.